Board here anymore. I'll go to Senator Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congress and this committee in particular has a responsibility, of course, to ensure that the Census Bureau completes a full and accurate 2020 census free from political interference. Yet in the last week, the administration made clear that it is overriding Census Bureau professionals by forcing them to rush by 1 month remaining census operations, regardless of the quality and the accuracy of that data. This political interference, if not checked by Congress, will harm hard-to-count communities, including rural communities, communities of color, tribal nations, and low-income communities for the next decade at least. So, Chairman, I urge you to schedule a hearing on this topic because, of course, we have a duty to ensure a fair and accurate census.
We've already reached out, so again, we're going to probably leave session here. I'm not sure when a hearing would be scheduled, but I've already reached out to the department.
I appreciate that. Mr. Secretary, on August 3rd, the Washington Post reported that you regularly talk with the President and Stephen Miller. Have you discussed the deployment of DHS agents to protests in connection with the President's reelection effort and with the President or any of his staff, White House staff, or campaign staff?
Again, I'm not going to comment on my discussions with the President or senior staff. All the events that have taken place in Portland or the events as it with respect
Sir,
to
have you discussed the
at the
deployments with any of his campaign staff?
No, have all been at the direction of the department.
I'm not sure if I heard your answer. Have you discussed the deployments with any of the President's campaign staff?
No.
And has the party affiliation of particular mayors or governors come up in any of your conversations with anyone about the deployments?
Not in my conversations.
Are you aware of any conversations that have addressed that?
Again, I'm not going to comment on any specific conversations that I have with the President.
So you're not going to comment on whether the party affiliation of the mayors or governors has come up in any of your conversations with the President?
Not in mine. I've just, sorry, general statement, because I see where you're going, is I'm not going to comment specifically on any discussions that I've had with the President or senior staff. What I can tell you is our deployment of law enforcement officers to Portland or in support of Operation Legend are done within DHS authorities and not for any political specific reasons.
On July 23rd, a United States federal district court judge ordered DHS and U.S. Marshals to stop arresting, threatening, or using force against journalists and legal observers. I'm assuming that you were aware of that ruling on the day it came down.
Yes.
Can you tell this committee what you did to inform your agents about that ruling, and what exactly did you inform them, and when did you inform them?
It was of that evening, I believe. I believe that came down in the afternoon. We worked with our Office of General Counsel along with the Department of Justice to make sure that our officers there in Portland specifically were aware of that and provided some additional training along with FPS, and I believe DOJ did the same with the U.S. Marshals.
By what method did you inform your agents in Portland that day or that evening?
OGC, our Office of General Counsel back at headquarters, liaison with a lawyer there in Portland, and then briefed out all of our law enforcement operators there.
Did you issue a memorandum to your agents that evening?
I believe that the individual component heads from FPS and OGC, which would normally do that, our Office of General Counsel, provided not only the verbal briefing but also in paper.
Is that your normal protocol, that you as the secretary of this agency would not directly inform your agents who are on the ground of a court ruling regarding the parameters and the permissible parameters of their enforcement?
So the normal protocol would make sure that our Office of General Counsel, our General Counsel would inform them, and then the individual operating heads, component heads of those additional law enforcement agencies would inform them as well.
The next day on July 24th, a Californian who was a law student studying in Portland, attended the protest. She was wearing a green hat, identifying her as a legal observer. She was filming the protest when a federal agent shot her with a rubber bullet near her heart at point-blank range. Was there any disciplinary action taken against that agent?
I'm unaware of that specific instance. What I can say is no DHS law enforcement officers in Portland use rubber bullets.
You have not been informed of this in any manner, even through the news?
Not of that specific one. Again, DHS law enforcement officers do not use that type of less than lethal munitions.
Will you follow up, please, with this committee and ask your staff if they are familiar with this case?
Well, again,
and if that was a DHS
U.S.
agent.
Marshals
Sir, may I
use-
finish, please?
U.S.
And will you answer to this committee, once you have checked with your staff, if they are familiar with this incident, and if it was one of your agents, was there any disciplinary action taken?
Again,
will
I
you follow
just-
up with the committee?
Just answered. It was not one of our agents because we do not use that type of less than lethal munitions.
Public reports show federal agents using chemicals against mothers and veterans. Agents are also using military-style flashbangs that explode almost like a bomb and make people feel they are going deaf. Have you consulted with medical experts about the impact of chemical irritants on protesters, including pregnant women?
We have looked at a variety of our less than lethal munitions as it regards to crowd control and dispersing crowds.
Have you checked with medical experts about the impact of those chemical irritants on pregnant women?
Not on pregnant women, I have not.
I would advise you to do that.
Again, the
Have any
less than
DHS
lethal munitions that we use in Portland occur between midnight and 5 a.m. every night. They
Sir,
do not-
I would
do
advise
not-
you, I would
do
advise
not
you,
use
knowing
that
there are
less than
women,
lethal
including
munition
pregnant women, in
at
these
peaceful
protests, I would advise you, knowing, and it is well known, there are mothers, including pregnant women, who are attending these protests. I would advise you, sir, to consult with medical experts to determine the impact of chemical irritants on pregnant women. Moving on, have any DHS personnel been suspended, terminated, or otherwise disciplined for using excessive force at the protests?
Are you referring to Portland specifically?
Any protest?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Have there been any complaints that have been investigated by your agency?
I know that our Office of CRCL, Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, has received a number of complaints.
And
And
what
they
is,
are
and what is
they
the
are looking
protocol that you have for being personally informed of those complaints and the investigations, if any, have taken place?
CRCL, as I know, is looking into them. We have the DHS OIG is also looking, has an open investigation as well.
And at what point does it come to you?
It would come to me after the investigation is complete.
My time is up. Thank you, sir.
Senator Hawley.